My dear friend, thank you for opening my letter. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything you should be doing, and yet something still doesn't click, I see you. There's a paradox at the center of this letter. It took me 2.5 years to discover it, and when you understand it, you'll probably look at everything you've been doing in a completely different way. It's 11 in the morning. I'm writing this from my bedroom in our apartment in Antwerp. I can hear the voices of my wife and son coming from the living room. They're painting at the table. She has a day off today and is taking care of him, so I can be here writing to you. A few days ago, we got back from Argentina, my home country, after spending a month there. And the contrast is enormous. It was a month that filled my heart. Lunches at my mom's house, out in the countryside on her covered porch, with a view of the pool, the green grass, and her plants. Around the table that was my grandmother's. We were there with my mom, with Brechtje, with Fausto, me and me, and everything was served at once. Salad, homemade quiche, pumpkin puree, no clock. There were also the reunions with my friends, outdoor afternoon gatherings after almost 2 years, mate, pastries with dulce de leche, sourdough croissants, the sun going down slowly over the algarrobo trees while we caught up as if we'd seen each other just yesterday. And of course, Sunday family gatherings, sometimes with my mom's family, sometimes with my dad's, sometimes with friends who are like family, and eating asado, empanadas, mates, the whole Sunday there talking and remembering when we were kids. And all of this wrapped in Santiago. The sun, the heat, days by the pool, the smell of firewood, the sound of crickets and frogs at night, the song of the ketubis, feeling the day, speaking my language and hearing it in everyone's voices, the music I grew up with playing on the supermarket radio, in the car, through the window of someone's house. And then suddenly I'm just back here in our small apartment in Antwerp, Belgium, gray days, cold, and often, rain. The day after we arrived, my wife left for work and I stayed home alone with Fausto, without my family, without my friends, in a country where I've lived for more than 10 years, and I'm super thankful to have this chance to live here, to have lived here. But still, it doesn't quite feel like my true home. And it's hard to be back, but not in the way that it's hard to return from a holiday, from a vacation. It's hard in a different way, because we've known for a while now that Argentina is the home we've chosen for our family, that it's where we want to live. We have a plot of land in a private neighborhood on the outskirts of the city in the countryside, and we want to build a tiny house there to live the simple life we dream of, surrounded by family, friends, and nature, growing our own food, having our fruit trees, our vegetable garden, our chickens, living a slow, peaceful, healthy life, baking sourdough bread in a wood-fired oven, drinking mate and cappuccinos with bare feet in the grass, making music without pressure, and above all, giving Fausto, our son, the chance to grow up in a quiet place, surrounded by family, with space and time to explore his interests and enjoy his childhood. We've decided when we are making the leap, September. But for that vision to become real, there's one piece that needs to be solid: my online business. And I want to be honest with you. Since I started building my conscious personal brand, I've served more than 90 people. I've held numerous presence circles and workshops in Argentina and Belgium and guided 8 clients through one-on-one journeys, resulting in over $7,000 in aligned income. And along the way, I've held space for beautiful transformations. Maria Jesus arrived scattered, writing, creating music, posting blogs. She has so many interests competing, no clarity and no clients. And in our 3 months together, her brand revealed, crystallized, And shortly after finishing our 3 months, her first paying client arrived. And then we have Luna also. She arrived paralyzed with imposter syndrome and no clients despite having thousands of followers. And 5 weeks after we began, she was guiding her first paying client, and a week later, her second, and she finished our 3 months having guided 3 one-on-one clients, creating and selling 6 email courses, and shortly after, she led her first in-person event. These are only 2 of the transformations I've held space for, and each one has been confirming layer by layer that this is real. Now I know my guidance transforms, I know what I offer works, and I know there are souls who need it. The clarity is there, the results are there, and yet there's still something missing for my service to be truly sustainable: visibility. For the people who need this transformation to know I exist. This visibility is directly tied to my content. While I've been sharing these letters on Substack and uploading videos to YouTube, I wasn't doing it with the intention of growing or reaching more people for the moment. I was doing it to keep writing to you, to keep sharing with you, while I finished creating my masterclass and crystallizing my brand. But now my masterclass is ready, my brand is clear, and it's time for it to shine as brightly as possible, like a lighthouse, so that the souls who need what I've discovered can find their way to it and receive what I have to give them. For that, I'm crafting my content ecosystem, a simple system that allows me to be present across multiple platforms sustainably, to finally start being discovered. And the system is very simple. Everything comes from 1 letter a week, only one, like this one. And from that letter, like this letter, everything else flows. The letter becomes a YouTube video. Hello, if you're watching on YouTube. That also works as a podcast. Hello, if you're listening on Spotify or some other podcast platform. And for now, I imagine recording myself reading it, like I'm doing now, with images from my daily life as the backdrop, as you're watching, if you're watching on YouTube. And that video goes to YouTube and podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and others. And for that same letter, I distilled 21 short form pieces of content. So tweets for X, Substack Shorts, and Threads. And from those 21 pieces, I pay attention to the 7 that resonated most with you. From those 7, 1 or 2 become carousels for LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, and 3 or 4 become short videos for Reels on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. So 1 letter distributed across multiple platforms. So it's not about creating more, it's about letting my frequency reach the people who are looking for it. But here's the paradox I promised you at the beginning, because what I just described, this content ecosystem, is exactly what I tried to build when I was starting out on this adventure of building a conscious personal brand. And back then, it was destroying me. 2.5 years ago, after trying to create 2 online businesses I couldn't sustain, a vegan cooking business and a music education business, I realized something. Reducing myself to choosing a niche suffocated me. I was tired of fragmenting myself, of choosing which parts of me I could show and which I had to hide, of leaving parts of myself out of my work. And I understood that if I wanted to build something sustainable, it had to come from all of who I am, a personal brand that integrated who I really am, along with all of my interests. So I bought a $1,000 course on building a personal brand, and I started studying it while implementing what I was learning. In that course, I found myself facing an entire universe of newsletters, strategies, content ecosystems, distribution systems, platforms. And not long after starting, I felt confused, exhausted, and overwhelmed. And this really scared me because I was very aware that forcing myself like this could take me back to that place, the burnout that had taken me a year to recover from. So in that moment, I was doing everything I was supposed to do, everything the course told me. I was creating content every day, posting, publishing newsletters, commenting on other creators' posts, optimizing my profile, sending DMs, having calls with other creators, and all of that without really knowing what I was doing, what I was really doing. I didn't know what my offer was. I didn't know who I served. I didn't know if I was a good guide even. And of course, nobody wanted to work with me. On top of that, I was getting sick, literally. My body was forcing me to stop. The most confusing part for me was that I felt deep down that this was really my path, building a conscious online business. I was doing what I loved, and yet I was hating it. Pursuing my calling was destroying me. It made no sense to me, and it made me doubt whether this was really my path at all. In that period of confusion, on a call with a friend, sitting in the hallway of a hotel in Santiago del Estero, my hometown, I was telling him how I felt, how overwhelmed I was. And then, in a moment after listening to me for a while, he asked me a simple question from a very deep place. He told me, "Do you really need to do all of that?" And something in those words reached something deep inside of me, and I felt an enormous weight dissolve in my chest as I broke down crying. And in that moment, I understood something no one had ever told me. I was trying to be visible before knowing who I was, holding up a complex content system without having the foundation, having the clarity. It was like trying to plant a tree in soil that just wasn't ready yet. So the tree wasn't growing, and I was exhausting myself watering it. So I made a decision. I stopped everything, the strategy, the plan, the content calendar, and I went back to what had always worked for me: presence. And crazily enough, returning to presence led me naturally to real conversations and to sharing and posting what felt natural when it felt natural. No obligation, no plan, trusting my intuition. And that led me to my first clients, conversations that became one-on-one journeys, synchronicities that appeared on their own, people I met on the street that led me to clients. Things were starting to move, and something beautiful began, a series of victories, each one leading me to a new challenge. Every workshop I gave, every client I guided, every transformation I witnessed. So the tree was starting to grow, slowly, little by little, putting down deeper roots with every step. And after having guided 8 one-on-one clients, more than 90 people in presence circles, and receiving $7,000 as a natural consequence of this work, I knew it was time to take my business to the next level. So I made a decision to stop everything and create my masterclass, to stop guiding clients, to just take the time to define exactly who I serve, to craft a clear offer, and to precisely articulate the deep transformation I facilitate. And now, after that process, I can say with complete clarity, I guide creators and spiritual seekers from fragmentation to integration. Through the Sacred Integration Journey, my 3-month one-on-one journey, I guide them step by step through the process of revealing the conscious business that already lives inside of them. A business that is a natural reflection of who they really are, and that allows them to serve their first clients. And now, as I write this, I see it clearly. 2.5 years ago, I didn't know who I was, what I served, or whether I was made for this. Today, I'm in a completely different place. Everything is clear and validated. The roots are deep, the soil is fertile, the tree has grown and given its first fruits. And now it only needs one thing: more sunlight. And giving it sunlight means one thing: letting my message reach those who need it. Articulating this clarity across different platforms and formats so it reaches the people who long for the transformation I've lived and that my clients are living. And this is what I'm doing now, crafting this content ecosystem little by little, step by step, without trying to do it all at once, because I know that doesn't work. I already know myself by now. So this is a new chapter, the one that turns my calling into livelihood and our dream of Argentina into reality. Thank you so much for reading all the way through. And if something you've read today has resonated with you, if you recognize yourself somewhere along this journey, I would love to know. I would love to know where you are right now. If you're still building your roots, or do you already have them, and what's missing is visibility. Reply to this message. I read every response with care. If you are listening to this on YouTube, you can reply on the comments. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading you. And if you feel the calling to craft your own conscious business, but you don't know yet where to begin, I invite you to watch my free masterclass, 1 hour that might save you years of going around in circles. Click on the link in the description and I see you there. With much love from Antwerp, Eliseo.